Stones flung in the air as the royal chariot of the king Jehoash thundered across the dirt roads of Israel. The sun hung low, casting long shadows that matched the king's face, drawn with despair and anxiety. He held the reins of his chariot with a tight grip, spurring his horses on as he rushed to seek counsel from the prophet Elisha, who lay on his deathbed. His heart raced as fiercely as his chariot, while his mind was filled with thoughts of fear for the future of his kingdom. For Israel's army, though once a formidable force, had now crumbled under the ruthless oppression of King Hazael and the Arameans. They had set fire to their fortified cities, slaughtered their young and old, even dashed their little ones upon the stones. Indeed, they were mercilessly oppressed. The entire force of Israel's army had been reduced to dust except for 50 horsemen, 10 chariots, and 10,000 foot soldiers. Everything seemed to be falling apart, and time was running out. At last, the king reached Elisha's house. He hurried in to meet the prophet and fell at his bedside, voice trembling as he cried, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen are failing." Elisha, now frail but still full of wisdom, sensing the king's concern and the plight of Israel, fixed his eyes on King Jehoash with the clarity of a man blessed with divine insight, and ordered a bow and quiver full of arrows be brought to him. Placing his hands on the king's, he commanded Jehoash to shoot an arrow out of the window. As Jehoash let the arrow loose, Elisha proclaimed the arrow of victory over Aram. A glimmer of hope lit up in the king's eyes as relief filled his heart. Then Elisha directed the king to take the arrows and strike the ground. To Elisha's shock, the king looked around as though he was confused, took 3 arrows from the quiver, shot half-heartedly at the ground, and stopped. The prophet's eyes widened with disbelief as he exclaimed, "How could you only shoot 3 arrows? You should have struck the ground 5 or 6 times. Then you would have defeated Aram and completely destroyed them. But now you will defeat them only 3 times. Soldiers, how could a man who was in deep despair just moments ago from the oppression of his people be so passive when the solution was quite literally handed to him? Was this not the king who so passionately stormed across the desert to cry at Elisha's bedside? Where was this passion when it came to following through with action? He had the strength to cry about his problems, but not the strength to empty the quiver. Should not the king have shot every arrow in that quiver with tears in his eyes and then asked the prophet for more arrows after? What a tragedy it is, soldiers, far too familiar to mankind, that men are more willing to cry and complain at their plight than to take up the sword of solution and fight. That men are only willing to shoot their shot and try 2 or 3 times until they give up and lose heart, not knowing that it might have been the 5th arrow that would have assured them success. That men are so easily pacified by signs of temporary relief from their circumstance that they stop prematurely instead of pressing on to full victory. It is easy to look on with shock like Elisha until we realize how many times we have done the same. For we have all had times when we've complained about our circumstances, only to stop short when the path to victory was clear. One man says to himself, "I'm tired of being overweight. This is my year to break loose the chains of fat that have kept me in bondage and become all I know I can be." His intentions are well founded. He starts off strong, passionate, and excited about going to the gym. 3 weeks pass, 3 arrows loosed from the quiver, and all of a sudden he stops going. Satisfied with his progress, though he has only lost 5 out of the 30 pounds he intended to lose, Another says, I'm tired of being broke and living below my potential. Since I was a child, I've dreamt of running my own business. Now is a time better than ever to unleash my full potential. But as soon as he steps foot upon the battlefield of the marketplace, he sees that it will be harder than he expected. 3 failed product launches, and he starts to consider his dreams, perhaps just a childish fantasy. Still another sets out to conquer sin and vice by the sword of the Spirit. In the beginning, his heart was steady. His sword was true. Yet after stumbling a few times, his spirit falters. All the arrows in his quiver, prayers, scriptures, fasting, remain half spent. He ends up content to be a struggling addict with intentions of becoming free one day. One day. Soldiers, when will we understand that one day will only come the day we put as much zeal into obtaining victory as we do into victimhood? The day we say, I don't care how many times I've tried, as long as I have arrows left to shoot, by God I will let them loose. Therefore, soldiers, don't stop now. Charge back out onto the battlefield. Empty your quiver. Shoot the bullets in the magazine until there are none left in the chamber. Then reload and charge back out to battle until you have conquered. Stay savage.